We could have done better in that a really sophisticated approach to the case would have been to try to put it all on with video evidence. That is not usually an easy thing to do. I would say with 20/20 hindsight, it's something that could have been done, and I own that. I mean, ultimately the buck stops here. It's not my job to throw other people under the bus. If there's a decision that is poor, and I believe that that was an incorrect decision, then we have to own it, and we have to try to do better moving forward.
Every day, new revelations emerge in the Kada Scott case, and it's becoming painfully clear that the authorities fumbled this investigation from the start. Now, shocking reports suggest that police have obtained surveillance footage proving that King wasn't acting alone in Kada's death. In fact, investigators believe 2 other individuals were involved. And even more disturbing, rumors are circulating that Keon may have been hired to carry out the job. This case is spiraling into something far darker and more complex than anyone initially imagined. Ever since that anonymous tip led police to the exact location of Kada's body, detectives have been scrambling to identify who placed the call and whether that person might also be connected to the crime. According to new information, the surveillance footage shows King alongside 2 other people on the same day Kada's body was moved. Early reports mentioned a single accomplice helping Keon move a heavy bag believed to contain Kada's remains, but the latest developments indicate a third suspect was also involved, someone who allegedly helped transport the body in a vehicle. If the police reports are accurate, they're now building a case that points toward premeditation rather than a crime of passion. Authorities are exploring multiple motives. Did Kada owe Keon money? Or could she have witnessed something she wasn't supposed to see, leading them to silence her permanently? Each new piece of evidence paints a grim picture of betrayal and cold calculation. As investigators continue to gather forensic data, analyze footage, and trace communication between the suspects, it's clear this isn't just a tragic loss. It's the unraveling of a murder plot that may involve more people, more secrets, and a far more sinister motive than anyone dared to believe.
Yes, Sheba and Jason, Keon King appeared over video conference for his arraignment, and he was polite, answering yes ma'am when the judge asked him a question. King has been in custody for over a week now in connection to Kada Scott's disappearance and now murder, and the judge says he'll remain behind bars without bail.
So here's where things start to piece together in the Kada Scott case. And trust me, this timeline is chilling. Kada was last seen alive on October 4th, the same night she disappeared, and her body was later discovered buried in a shallow grave in a wooded area behind Ada H. Lewis Middle School. But this story doesn't just begin there. It actually traces back to September 28th, when Kada first started communicating with King, who also goes by Kel. That's the date we have as the beginning of their contact, according to court documents. On September 28th, Keon first messaged Kada, and then he reached out again on October 2nd using a Text Now number, a service that allows people to send texts through an anonymous or secondary number, often used to hide real identities. He told Kada that he had changed his number, essentially reintroducing himself. While the court documents only show fragments of their exchanges, investigators have implied that there may be more explicit or incriminating conversations that haven't been released to the public yet, likely being held back in case this goes to trial. What we do know is that on October 4th, Kada texted Keon saying, "Kid me again," to which he responded, "Better be up too." That was followed by plans to meet up later that night. At 10:09 p.m., Kada sent what would become her final message, "See him when you're here," which investigators interpret as her telling him to call when he arrived. Surveillance and phone records confirm she entered what appeared to be a dark-colored SUV shortly after, and within 15 minutes at 10:24 p.m., her phone went completely dark, never to turn on again. Police now believe that SUV was actually a black Hyundai Accent that King had stolen from a pizza delivery driver earlier that day while the driver stepped out to make a delivery. That same car was later seen parked near the Auberry Recreation Center, just beside Ada H. Lewis Middle School, and it reportedly stayed there for over 36 hours. Then comes the damning footage. On October 5th, surveillance video captured 2 individuals moving what appeared to be a heavy object, possibly a body, from that car toward the wooded area behind the school. But that's not all. The footage also shows a third person potentially involved, as a gold Toyota Camry was seen leaving the area shortly after. By October 7th, the stolen black Hyundai Accent had been set on fire, clearly in an attempt to destroy any forensic evidence connecting it to the crime. With the car burned, a major piece of physical evidence tying Keon and his accomplices to Kada's death was effectively destroyed at this stage. Investigators have identified 2 people directly associated with Keon in the handling of Kada's remains, along with 2 women who lived with him and may have aided him as he moved between his house and the crime scene. But there's one more person drawing major suspicion. Someone the police haven't named publicly, but whose social media sleuths are convinced knows more than she's saying. Gabby. Many people remember her from her TikTok video, where she defensively explained why she didn't call the police, even though she allegedly knew details about Keon and Kada's relationship. The problem is, her video raised more questions than answers. Why was she so quick to go public with a denial instead of cooperating with investigators? Did she know what was going to happen that night, or even help Keon cover his tracks afterward? As the pieces start to fit together, this case is taking a terrifying turn. It's no longer just about a young woman meeting the wrong person. It's beginning to look like a coordinated and premeditated setup, with multiple people possibly involved before, during, and after Kada's death. Between the stolen car, the late-night meeting, the video footage, and the mysterious players like Gabby, every new detail exposes deeper layers of deception.
That I'm taking my midterms, so I'm really just trying to keep my head on the books, and I wasn't really trying to let this stress me out, so I kind of just let it go. You know, he turned himself in. It's not really much to say or do anymore.
So I just felt like, the information that I had and the fact that, I'm just not really a cop caller, it wouldn't make sense for me to call the cops. That's what Gabby said in her TikTok video, trying to paint herself as the innocent bystander in the whole Kada Scott situation. But instead of clearing her name, the video made her look even more suspicious. She claimed that Keon called her for 29 seconds, and that's when she told him Kada lived near her. But the screenshot she showed said outgoing, not incoming, which means Gabby was actually the one who made the call. That completely changes the narrative because now people are wondering what she really wanted to talk about and why she called him in the first place. And that's not even the strangest part. Turns out Gabby has a record. She even posted a message to her mom revealing she'd been arrested and recently released. When people looked into it, they found she was arrested in March 2025 and charged with possession of a weapon, terroristic threats, conspiracy, assault, aggravated assault, and endangering another person. She's currently out on bond with her case still pending, and she might have cut a deal with the court to travel for educational reasons, since she kept saying she had an upcoming exam and needed to focus on her studies.
So one day Keon calls me, and keep in mind I am in school, I am in Maryland, and he will usually just call me, just to check up and talk. So he calls me and he asks me if I know Kada. And I'm like, yeah, I know Kada. And he's like, oh yeah, I noticed that she lives really close to you. I'm like, yeah, she lived right in the back of me. And I'm not thinking nothing of it because he usually calls me and, we just be chatting. He'll call me about the people that be around because he is the pharmacist. I live in the neighborhood and he be in my neighborhood. So we hang up the phone and that was that. We were only on the phone for 29 seconds. So you can see that this is the day that he called me and there was no reason to call the cops. He already turned himself in and I felt like it would be kind of a waste of time to tell them that the guy that they already have in custody, called me and was asking about the girl. And me personally, I'm not a cop caller. I don't call the cops. That's just the way that I grew up. That's what I was around. They will always tell me, you don't call the cops. So I just felt like, the information that I had and the fact that, I'm just not really a cop caller, it wouldn't make sense for me to call the cops.
So with Gabby's criminal record and Keon's reputation as the neighborhood pharmacist, it's starting to look like she has a much deeper connection to this case than she's letting on. Many now believe that the entire situation might have been planned long before Keon first messaged Kada on September 28th. According to one of Kada's co-workers from the nursing home, she seemed visibly upset before she went missing and was overheard saying, "I can't believe you're calling me about this." Her parents also mentioned that she told them someone had been harassing her in the days leading up to her disappearance. This raises the question, did Kada cross paths with the wrong people? And was Keon hired to take care of her? Adding to the mystery, the Philadelphia Medical Examiner revealed that Kada was hit in the head, which is unusual for Keon. His criminal record shows a disturbing history of choking and physical assaults, suggesting that this time he may have wanted to keep things less personal, cold, quick, and detached. Maybe he wanted to leave no trace or avoid getting his hands dirty. Being the local pharmacist, Keon likely had access to substances or methods that could easily incapacitate someone, which makes the whole thing even darker. And let's not forget, he used a stolen car and dumped her body in his own neighborhood, which shows either shocking arrogance or pure stupidity. The more evidence that surfaces, the more it points to premeditation, not an accident. People are convinced that Gabby knows far more than she's saying, and might have even helped in some way. With all these details surfacing, the public is hoping this time there's enough evidence to lock Keon, and possibly his accomplices, away for good. This story is still unfolding fast, so stay tuned for more updates as the truth continues to come out.